And back now to that breaking news. The British Conservative Party has just chosen former London Mayor, former Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson to be the next Prime Minister. He'll officially take over as Premier tomorrow. This was all chosen not by a nationwide vote, but by a ballot of dues-paying Conservative Party members. May, the current Prime Minister, is being forced to step down over her handling of Brexit. She will officially resign, Theresa May, after Prime Minister's questions tomorrow at noon local time. Several Conservative ministers have said this week they will not serve under a Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, who is vowing to take Britain out of the European Union on October 31st, come hell or high water, deal or no deal. Here's Johnson just minutes ago after the announcement.
And we know the mantra of the campaign that has just gone by. In case you've forgotten it, you probably have. It's always a couple of. It is deliver Brexit, unite the country, and defeat Jeremy Corbyn. And that is what we're going to do.
Minutes after Johnson won the vote to lead the Conservative Party, President Trump tweeted already his congratulations and said he will do a great job. Johnson beat his main rival, the current Foreign Secretary, Jeremy Hunt, by a 2-to-1 margin within this vote. With me in studio is David Menzer, former director of Labor Friends of Israel and current political analyst. David, we just saw Trump's reaction, the U.S. president, giving his support. What are your thoughts on Boris Johnson, the man who this time tomorrow will be the Prime Minister of the UK?
Look, British political history is littered with examples of great politicians that never made it to this top job. Boris is a towering political figure in the UK. He dominates the political landscape in the UK, and I think it's something quite unusual today that dominant figure in British politics has finally achieved his goal of becoming Prime Minister.
Last year, right? Just a year ago, he joked with reporters, I have a better chance of being reincarnated as an olive in my next life than I do of being Prime Minister in this one. He's a very controversial and divisive, but clearly charismatic political figure who connects with people. Explain that rise. Last year he was joking, of course there's no way I can ever ascend to that level. Now here he is.
Well, I think you should think back a little bit further than that quote from last year to what he told his mother when he was a little boy, which was his ambition in the world was to be world king. And I think that anyone knows any sort of the way that politicians work is that answer to that question is always denied. You never say that you're after that top job. But of course, Boris has been hankering after this top job for many, many years. He was an incredibly successful mayor of London. He won in London, a Labour city. He won a majority not once, but twice. He didn't stand again in 2016, deciding to return to Parliament because he knew he wanted that top job. So this is very much the crowning event of his career, and it's very, very important that I think he is the one that is going to keep Jeremy Corbyn, of course, out of number 10.
Before we return to Brexit, which is a key reason for his success and a key part of his, what he calls his magic mantra, what is his relationship like with the Middle East, with Israel? Is there any fundamental difference in your mind that you see between his direction, his vision, compared to current Prime Minister and also Conservative Party member Theresa May?
Well, I happened to spend some time talking about this with Boris earlier in May, just before he announced. He's, I would say he has a very good understanding of Israel's unique place in the Middle East. He is well known for slamming the BDS movement, describing them as sort of corduroy-wearing outcasts on the far left of the academic world. I think he's a real friend to the UK's Jewish community, and I think that good relationship between Britain and Israel would certainly be continued by Boris Johnson. So I think British Jews, as well as Israel, can definitely breathe a sigh of relief that he is the man that's taken over at number 10. But of course, the biggest challenge, as you say, Jeff, now is this looming date of the 31st.
3 months. I mean, he says, and so no matter what, he's going to do it, you think?
Look, He thinks of himself, this is very important, Jeff, he thinks of himself as a Churchillian figure. Churchill is his mentor. He's someone who he quotes all the time. He's written books on Churchill. He's even given lectures about Churchill's delivery, his oratorical style. So he feels himself as Churchill. Churchill, of course, came to the leadership of the United Kingdom at Britain's darkest hour after the 1939 war was declared and really turned things around. He sees himself in precisely the same manner. He thinks that he will have the best chance of turning this around for Britain, and that's what he's going to try to do.
Of course, Churchill was a war prime minister. There was an international enemy, I mean, the Nazis that he fought and defeated. The first major crisis for him, right, is this ongoing situation with Iran. The seizure of the oil tanker, nearly 24 crew members still detained in Iran.
Yeah.
What do you make of, this is going to be Johnson's first real test tomorrow. What will he do?
I think that he will take a tough line. I think that he'll be well aware that he's starting as he means to go on, and he will take a tough line. And I think the Iranians will need to be aware that they're dealing with a different prime minister. Of course, Theresa May was seriously weakened. We knew that she was leaving. So I think he'll take a much tougher line in this first example. Of course, it's up to the Iranians how they respond, but I think he'll take a much tougher line. And I think that tweet from Trump was important. I think there'll be a natural synergy between those two blonde bombshells. They have a very, very similar style, very, very similar type of politician. And I think that relationship, which was pretty much dismissed this morning by Trump saying, hey, UK, you're on your own, I think there'll be a turnaround. Trump will very much want to support his ally, Boris Johnson.
All right, David, thanks so much for that analysis.